Welcome to OmniTalk powered by Netsoft. I'm your host, Amy Rice, and OmniTalk is a podcast focusing on fintech and how it affects banks and credit unions. On today's episode, we have Paula Tompkins joining us. Paula is the CEO and founder of ChannelNet. She has over 30 years of experience in the industry and is here to not only share the story of how ChannelNet started, but will also talk about what financial institutions should be ready for next. Today I have Paula Tompkins on with me. She is the CEO and founder of ChannelNet. How are you doing, Paula?
Well, I'm doing just great, Amy. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. So I want to thank you so much for joining us today. ChannelNet is a new partner, and so we're excited to learn more about your company.
Well, I'm excited to be here, and it certainly is a great union of companies. So thanks for jumping in and asking me to participate in this podcast.
Awesome. So my first question for you is, can you tell our listeners what ChannelNet does and maybe some highlights from the history of your company?
Well, I love the story. It's a fun story. I actually started the company in 1985. At the time, I was working in Silicon Valley for General Electric, GE, and at the time, with all the high-tech companies in those days. And I don't know if any of your listeners will remember, of course, they remember Apple, but Atari, Tandem, Grid, and many, many more of the originators in the Valley. And I came to believe that the personal computer was going to revolutionize marketing and sales. So I gave up my career in big corporations and started the company out of my apartment in Sausalito, California. And so I used the term to describe what the personal computer would enable us to do in terms of a sales and marketing activity. And I referred to it as the next best thing to a sales call at a fraction of the cost. So I convinced some of the largest corporations in the world to conduct focus groups with their customers and to help us learn more about how their customers would use this new technology, personal computers. And Amy, I bet you weren't around in 1985. But what we ended up doing is being shocked at how forward-thinking customers were. And that then led us to implement the very first interactive programs in the world for General Motors, Ford, BMW, Chase Manhattan Bank, Chemical Bank, and many more. The rest is history. We've been at it for the past 30, going on 37 years. It's funny to me how so much has changed, yet how much has stayed the same, especially with traditional enterprises like banks and credit unions. The way they communicate with their customers and members hasn't changed all that much.
That's interesting. I mean, there probably wasn't a ton of people in 1985 who realized what PCs or personal computers, had the potential of doing. So it's crazy that you saw that and ran with it. And that's why you're so successful today.
Well, thank you, Amy.
So since you kind of have a knack for, I guess, predicting or figuring out where we're going in the future, can you speak a little bit about what you think the industry needs to be ready for next?
The financial services industry needs to really get focused on their customers and members. And I mean that sincerely. And if you think about the way they communicate with you today, it's abysmal. I'll give you an example. We're about to pay off our automobile, and the only information and the only outreach we get is to pay our bill every month from our financial institution. And here we sit, and they aren't soliciting any other business from us or trying to build a relationship with me or my husband. And we have a relationship with one of the biggest credit unions. He's actually belonged for over 40 years to that credit union. And same thing. So they just aren't focused on their customers and members. And it's amazing to me how traditional they still are. They expect customers to walk into a branch. That's dead and dying. The pandemic put the last nail in that coffin. Now, are branches going to go away? No, but they're going to be re-engineered, and we're going to see a much smaller footprint. We're going to see specialty people there. It'll be more like appointments. And there's not going to be this branch, a load of tellers standing behind glass. That world is dead and gone. They think that online mobile banking, website, and if they've got email, that they blast these emails out, that they're in the digital age. But they've only scratched the surface. They buy expensive technology platforms and then hire armies of people to build versus buy. And then they wonder why it takes 2 to 5 years to get these systems up and running. They don't have a clue about things like agile methodologies. We've been practicing agile methodologies since 2004 and 5. I mean, that's a long time ago. And even some of my largest clients, I'll say, are you practicing agile? And they say, well, we're trying to get there. It's just amazing to me how difficult it is for these banks and credit unions to move rapidly forward, to understand that digital rules, and that marketers are still clinging to these old practices. The entire industry is void of an omnichannel approach. Now, you might say, well, what the heck's omnichannel? Well, if you think about it, it's really simple. It's you use the online to drive them to an individual human that can help them with complex products and decisions. And so what you need to do as a financial institution is you need to be there to help them when they want it and when they need it. And that is where you're going to win their hearts and minds. You name it, they are pushing out all these, social media. They're pushing out videos to YouTube and writing blogs. But none of this stuff is coming together into what I call a rich contextual experience that's designed to help the customer or the member learn about and gather the information they need to really make an intelligent, informed decision. Because consumers and business people are time-starved today, they just don't have time. I just think that clicks and open rates are done. What the industry needs to do is to get focused on what I call leads and interactions. I believe that is the next biggest, best thing that's going to be happening. And the CEOs, CIOs, and CXOs better get involved and be driving these kind of changes in the way they relate to their customers and members digitally.
Yeah, I would definitely have to agree with that. Probably 15 years ago when I opened my first college checking account, I went to the bank and opened it up. And from then on, the banker that I opened it up with calls me every single year on my birthday. He, if he sees something that he thinks that, I could take advantage of, he gives me a call. So it's really kind of building that relationship that's so important.
Absolutely, Amy.
So my next question is, what's the number one thing our listeners should know about One Click Financial?
Well, One Click Financial was devised to create a two-way dialogue with customers and members digitally. And I can't express how important that is. The world has always been about a marketer sitting on the inside of a corporation. Some product people run to that marketer and say, I need to get more deposits. I need to get more loans. We've got a new interest rate coming out or whatever. We need more auto loans. And then the blasts begin. And by the blasts, I mean direct mail, email blasts. They aren't even aware typically of whether you already have a loan. Where are you in that loan? How do you want to talk to that person if they're in a loan? Why are you offering them another exactly same loan when they just opened one yesterday? And these are the kinds of things that we need to start paying attention to. You need to create that two-way dialogue. In other words, you need to engage them digitally to better understand their needs and life events. And Amy, that's what you were talking about with your banker. I mean, he knows your birthday is important. I can give him dozens of other reasons to pick up that phone and call you, right? And that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to arm these institutions with information on the needs, wants, and desires and life stages of their customers and members. Once we better understand customers and members, products and services that they have, along with other details, we can append the data we have on them from the core. So, for example, demographic data, persona data, product propensity data. So we take this data from the core that sets us up with all the information we need to be able to target those customers and communicate relevancy. And then we append that data to even make us smarter and more focused. So what we're able to do is create these contextually rich, relevant experiences for each and every individual and are able to record their interactions and behaviors. Now you're going to say, well, what do you mean their interactions and behaviors? Well, we asked them, you were just visited with one of our loan officers. What was your experience? And are you going to be taking advantage of that new mortgage that you guys talked about? We asked them, and do you know what? When you ask them, they'll tell you. We asked them, what's coming up in your life? Are you thinking about retirement? Are you thinking about a second home? So as we dialogue with these people digitally, we gather their behaviors. We understand when they go to a calculator trying to calculate rent versus buy in terms of a house or a condo. Well, that's a demand signal. Somebody is not going to sit and play around with a calculator unless they're in the market. Now, they may be early in the market, all the better for you. So we take these interactions at an individual level, and we then analyze those behaviors and turn them into qualified leads that we deliver instantly back to the institution and the appropriate group. So if it's a corporate account or a small business account, or if it's a consumer, who do we want that lead to go to? And we need to make sure they pick up the phone and offer their assistance because they now have a reason to interact with that customer or member. And then we even track on an ongoing basis because we get the data every day from the financial institution. Did that loan application close? If not, let's retarget those people and try to get that loan application further into the sales funnel and deeper into the sales funnel. So our job really is to make it easier for these members or customers to make financial services decisions on new products and services, and to be able to report back on our ROI and how many of the leads we generated and the information we stimulated was closed due to that interaction we have with those customers or members. Once that loan has been approved and they have that new loan or that new checking account or that new banking account, we want to instantly thank them and ask them, what was their experience like? Did it take too long? Is there a better thing we can do? And again, reaching back out to those people and really determining their rationale for why they gave us the answer they did. It's quite sophisticated. It's not really being done in the industry today. We've been lucky enough to have major clients in the credit union and banking space of all shapes and sizes work with us. But it's not to say that any of them have really moved beyond what I call the walk stage. And we have 3 different kinds of approaches we take based upon the sophistication level of the institution we're dealing with. And that's walk. Let's just get them up and running. Let's show them what we are able to accomplish. Let's get them comfortable. We then push them to the walk stage, where now we're doing more things like retargeting, automated thank yous, those kinds of things. And then we move them to ballet. And that's where we start embedding personal pages that we develop into their brand website, their online mobile banking, and their online banking system. So we want to hit these customers and members where they are, and we want to be able to interact with them as seamlessly as possible and give them a relevant experience at every major touch point.
That sounds like a very good strategy, as far as you want to make people feel like they're your only customer. And with these financial institutions having thousands, and in some cases tens of thousands of customers, it's really hard for one person to keep track of everything that's going on. But if you have all of these tools at the ready to, tell you, hey, Beth just had a baby, she might be thinking about setting up a college fund. So it's kind of interesting to use all of this data and all of these touch points to really give banking customers a customized personal experience, which is, to me, a really great thing, something that personally I would be interested in.
Amy, you're so right. And your summary was right on.
My next question is, what pain points do you see in the financial industry, and how does One-Click Financial help your clients alleviate those pains?
We have devised our SaaS platform and services to alleviate a lot of the pain points: access to the data, acquiring third-party data. That is very important to make this kind of platform work. Unfortunately, many of them, in terms of what IT does and the sophistication level of marketing, and where does sales come into all this. And it's rare that you would ever meet anyone at a bank or a credit union that carries the title VP of sales. They aren't sales minded. And so I think that's something that really has to change. And so us really helping by pushing leads out to the organizations and help them understand how to value those leads from existing customers and members, and how to interact with those people, really is going to help them turn the corner in terms of all the things that they need to be able to do to actually, and I don't know, Amy, whether I mentioned this or not, the more products and services an individual customer or member has, the longer they're going to stay with your institution, the more loyal they're going to be. So it is imperative that they find a way to reach these people, and it isn't through the branch, unless the branch is reaching out to talk to them about a product that they've inquired about. And what better way to put the two together? So we've built all this up, including our relationship with Netsoft and your APIs and our data feeds, to secure the data we need to get started. We've also established partnerships with many fintech point solutions, such as appointment scheduling. That appointment gets scheduled right with the right person instantly. We also have other providers of video banking systems, real-time credit approvals, where in the middle of the interaction, if they indicate an interest in a savings account or a credit card, or they want a personal loan, we can actually in real time approve them for that loan and pre-fill that credit application, so that, again, we want to make it easier for these customers to do business with their financial institution. We also curate the content and functionality from all their existing sources. If you think about it, they've got information everywhere. They've got credit apps on their website. They've got social media. They've got people testimonials. They've got calculators on their website. They've got educational materials. And so pulling all that into a relevant experience, we call that curating the content and functionality. If you think about it, they would go, oh my God, look at all the content I would have to develop. They already have it. So we teach them how to pull the various pieces and parts into the experience so it's even more relevant. And finally, we provide an expert help desk. I watch these banks and credit unions. They say, oh, I'm going to buy a platform. They buy a platform. They get some sort of a tool where they can go in and build out an email or build out whatever. The problem is that takes labor, hours, and if that person that knows how to work that system decides to quit, now we have to ramp someone else up. And when it comes to data-driven personalization, that requires a level of sophistication that most of our clients in the banking and credit union industry, frankly, don't have. So we do that work for them. So think of it kind of like an outsource. We are the extension to their marketing team that helps them and digital team that helps them pull these very relevant communications together. So it's like I said, the first time, it's like riding a bike. The first time they may fall a lot, right? Trying to get it up and running, understand how it works. But then once they figure out how to ride that bike, they go speeding down the road. And it's all about walk, run, ballet. Let's not try to absorb too much in the early stages. Let's get it moving. Let's get it working. Let us teach you how it works, and away we go.
That's a really great analogy as far as comparing it to riding a bike. And it sounds like you really help your clients to get up and running and figure out what the best way for outreach and customization and personalization is. Can you tell us a little bit about why you chose Netsoft to be an integration partner?
Well, I was introduced to Netsoft by one of my board members, and I got to know the team there. And the fact that they can devise a single API that works across all the cores and third-party systems that banks and credit unions have, which is, as you know, a rat's nest of this system, that system, another system. And frankly, a lot of those systems hold them back. It was a no-brainer for me to select Netsoft as a key partner of ours. Once I met the team, I knew it was a perfect fit. And we are extremely proud and delighted to be the partner and look forward to working together as we build up the number of clients in our portfolio and really moving from the data on a daily pull into a real time. So imagine we note that a given customer is about to, hasn't used their credit card for 6 months. Okay, we'd like to dynamically send them an offer instantly and an overall experience that says, gee, we're here to offer you an extra low rate for the next 90 days. So those kinds of triggers and those kinds of things are going to be very important as we teach these banks and credit unions to ballet. And that's where I see Netsoft being just a huge and important part of the overall approach.
Yeah, I can definitely say that the feeling is mutual. We're excited to be partnered, and we're excited to build a solution that helps you connect to financial institutions, which in turn helps their clients. We just want to say thank you for selecting us, and we're excited to go on this journey with you.
Well, thank you, Amy, and I appreciate it. And I just think the whole team there is just top notch.
Awesome. So I just have one more question for you, and it's kind of a fun question. I've been asking everyone what's their favorite place to travel to, and so that's the question I'm asking you today.
My husband and I are nature lovers, and so we love to take fantastic exotic vacations all around the world. And I can't tell you one favorite, but I can give you a few highlights. We spent our honeymoon actually 29 years ago, June 20th, in Kenya, Africa, visiting games parks and viewing wildlife. We saw everything there. That was just sensational. We spent time in the Galapagos and on a ship going from island to island, watched blue-footed boobies, dancing to try to get their girlfriend. It was just fantastic, and all the tortoises, and that was a fantastic trip. We've been to Borneo and viewed the orangutan in the wild, and that was quite an experience. We've been to Churchill with the polar bears. Again, that's depressing because there they are every October waiting to get out on that ice and do a little ice fishing. And of course, we've got global warming happening. And then we've been to Nagano and visited the snow monkeys and watched them sit in the natural steam baths. And they look like little old men, with the snow falling on their eyelashes. Kind of lastly, we've been all over Europe, but a very special visit with the Lipizzaners and, the white Spanish, beautiful, high-stepping horses at their stables where they gave birth to the babies. That was in Austria. So the Lipizzaners are fabulous horses, and the babies are born black, but turn white. Anyway, it's just been very exciting to do all this world travel and see many of these fantastic experiences and wildlife.
Wow, like one trip is kind of better than the next as you were talking. It's so cool that you had the opportunity to take all those trips and have all those experiences, and just being able to see wildlife in their natural habitat is such an amazing thing. So that's all the questions I have for you today, Paula. I want to thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing all of your knowledge about ChannelNet and also what you think is happening in the future.
Well, thank you, Amy. It's been a great pleasure.
This episode of OmniTalk was sponsored by Netsoft. Netsoft is your all-in-one stop to help your company secure, connect, and optimize your data. Welcome to Data Done Right. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of OmniTalk. To learn more about how ChannelNet is helping institutions personalize the client experience, visit channelnet.com. This will be my last episode as host of OmniTalk. I've enjoyed every interview over the last year and a half, and I want to thank all of the guests who provided great content and made my job as OmniTalk host a memorable one. Starting Monday, July 19th, Mandy Rimke will take over as host, and I know she'll do a fantastic job. For last time, stay safe and stay well.